surface, if that.
Welcome
Grain
to
of sand.
Ramblemancy, everybody. Freeman and John were joking about me having taken us live when they weren't paying attention in the midst of another conversation, so then I did it. So,
So
We
it's
here at
begun.
Rule of Lore are not the instigators and enablers.
um, hello everybody, and welcome to Ramblemancy. Yes, Freeman is alive. His internet lost the battle with him. So, yeah.
Actually, my mother.
Well, fair enough.
Tonight we
it's
have a special intermittent guest, my cat.
Nice.
it's almost
Hello.
it's almost as if your mom's job is literally fixing the internet.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but uh, anyway, here we are at the top of the stream, and we already got a block incoming. So like,
Yeah, I looked over and saw "Want to become famous." And I was just like, So I am using my mod powers.
that's got to be a
tonight.
record. I gotta say that has to be a record. I don't think we've ever had one that fast.
We're really moving up in the world.
We really are. Actually, it might just be like high traffic hours for Twitch, so like all the bots are out in force. Maybe, I don't know.
True.
Something like that. Anyway, welcome everybody. We're here tonight because it is a particularly special weekend out of the year. Special time that only comes once a year. I'm gonna not do that. I was gonna go somewhere. I started something that I couldn't finish. I didn't have the presence of mind to keep going. Anyway, Gen Con. Gen Con was supposed to be this weekend, but instead we have it is the on Gen Con Online is this weekend instead. But it is no replacement for the actual in-person experience of being at a con. But yes, we all decided to wear our lanyards. I'm not sure which one this is. I think this is last year's. Yeah, this is last year's.
I'm pretty sure that's last year's.
That's probably why it says 2019 on it.
Ah.
I was actually going off of like the Super Punks and Enthusi Army.
I mean,
things
yeah,
that
there's
were
that
tagged
too.
on
But
there.
I mean, like I had a bunch of them last time, but I also had one on mine that was just like at a weird angle. So like, anyway, yes, alas, this year I will be unable to participate in one of my favorite parts of Gen Con, which is collecting a whole bunch of shit to put on my badge.
I was just gonna say there's like a severe lack of the con metagame, which is the collecting
all the
things part of
ribbons.
it. Like I went from just like having a badge on the first day by I think like 36 hours into Gen Con last year to jingling when I walked. So
yeah, between ribbons and flair and like pins, all kinds of stuff. It's just it becomes a lot. But it is fun. Which reminds me, Gemini. Yes, Gemini said I was maybe going to actually meet you all this weekend, which soon, one day soon. Which reminds me, I still have the ribbons that you asked me to pick up for you from last year, Gemini. I have like the Enthusi Army and Callisto 6 one. I think it might just be those two. I might have another one. I don't remember, but I still have those. But yes, so we'll have to talk about that. But anyway, tonight we're gonna be talking about that. We're gonna be talking about cons and community. But before we get started on that, I want to say first of all, hello Amethyst Cat Lady, welcome, and of course Gemini Lightning, Vertiman One, welcome, always a pleasure. And any of the rest of you who are here, who are lurking in the background, welcome to you too.
also hello to you that may or may not be on VOD Squad. We appreciate your listening.
All right, well, we begin tonight's episode as we begin all of our episodes, with a not so subtle changing of the speakers. To John, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about?
I've been joking to people all week that, like, in spite of the fact that I am not at Gen Con, physically I am in my room. I still have like all of that weird Gen Con energy, you know? like yesterday I got up and like did the dishes, and then I went to the post office and ran some errands, and then I sat down for like a seminar, and like I did some other stuff, and then like had a Zoom call with a whole bunch of con friends that I made last year, and then like had another seminar after I had made myself like dinner at home. And it was bizarre to like have part of my brain be like, yes, Gen Con time, and then have it the rest of me doing, oh, I have to do chores today. Like it was the worst kind of whiplash. Like I was just oscillating wildly between everything is normal and it's Gen Con week, baby. Like,
Yes. Yep. I feel that. Hello,
No, it's
karaoke
almost like your
969.
body. Hello. It's almost like your body remembers that.
Yeah, it's like muscle memory for Gen Con.
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
It's like, oh god, I remember for the last 2 years, this weekend has been awful. Time to stock up on energy.
Right, yeah, no, it's like your sleep schedule goes back to the Gen Con sleep schedule. I've been
Sure,
like waking
that's my
up.
excuse. I'll say that's my excuse for
Yeah,
my
sure.
sleep.
Yeah,
Well,
Mhm.
that's
That's
my
what it is.
excuse as
mhm.
well.
Well, right. Yeah, I
Absolutely.
totally haven't been staying up that late anyway.
In the
Yeah,
first
absolutely
place,
not.
yeah.
No, of
Spigs,
course not.
hello, welcome. Good to see you.
I saw you in chat last night at the Monty Cook an evening with Monty Cook Games. Actually, I think I saw you on screen at the Monty Cook Games an evening with Monty Cook Games thing. So I was in chat for that. It was fun to see you guys like on their plugin. So
Yeah. So yeah, no, like con energy is absolutely like a thing. It didn't actually hit me until yesterday, like you said, when we were on like Zoom call with like a bunch of our con friends, and we were just like talking about different things, and like some of the conversation was to like, okay, so what events are you going to be going to, and like so like some of that was some of the conversation, and it was just this weird, very bizarre like cognitive dissonance, like I'm not there, but I am there, but I'm here. It's very yeah.
hmm yeah, no, it's super weird because like part of you is like, okay, so which food truck am I gonna get lunch at? And like, hold on, I need to check like the convention center map to figure out where that room is. And you're like, oh no, wait, it's just I mean, there is kind of almost the same element of it when you're like, okay, so wait, is this one a Zoom seminar, or are they hosting it on YouTube Live, or are they doing like a Twitch, just hosting it on their Twitch channel, or like, like there's a whole bunch of different ways for people to run the content this year, and so like kind of instead of searching for the room, you're just searching for which method of digital delivery they've chosen.
Luckily, if you get it wrong, it doesn't involve sprinting across like maybe like what like half mile like in between.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Or
involve
if you're really unlucky, like sprinting across the street underground to Lucas Oil Stadium.
yeah. God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you, Spigs. I miss in-person Gen Con so much.
No.
Absolutely.
I had the horrible realization a couple of days ago on Tuesday. I think I even saw you that day, Freeman, and I was like
That was the
Freeman,
day we were. Yep.
we would have been traveling today.
Yeah, we would have been on the
We would have been
plane.
on the plane by now. We like all day on Tuesday. I was like mentally tracking what like our hypothetical progress. We're like, by now we're probably would be laid over in Vegas, right? And just kind of like waiting for. Yeah. Oh God, it's so much. I'm gonna go look over here. Gemini says I've only been to one con, but it was one of the funnest weekends of my life. Was that Emerald City Comic Con? Because I believe that's where I met you for the first time. Was there? Um, and yeah, cool. Um, Karaoke Night says I've been to the same con multiple times. It's truly a special experience. That's awesome. Yeah. So actually, this is a good place to start. Like the con experience. Let's talk about
Oh
that.
my god. There's so much to unpack here,
Mm-hmm.
Lucas, as we say in the business. I don't know what business, but we
Yeah, I was
say
gonna say, which business is that, John?
I love it. Some business.
There's so much to unpack here, as we say in the business. That being the business of unpacking things.
I think I picked that up off of a Luther like English professor. Actually, that phrase. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that tracks. I see that.
I think it might have been Andy, but that's a conversation for another time. But yeah, there is a ton to unpack about like the con experience itself. And like one of the things that I was thinking about earlier today is just like this overwhelming sense of like weirdly like belonging, sort of like there's just like on the greater sense, you're like everybody here is a huge tabletop games nerd, or they're a gaming nerd of some kind, or at the very least like they bought a badge because they were curious, and now they're with 60,000 other nerds, so like there's only one way that this goes.
Yeah. God, and that's kind of like what echoing what Karaoke Night just said was cons are a bunch of people interested in the same things you are, all gathered together to have as much fun as you want to have. You get there and everyone is already your friend. That's such a nice way of putting that. And like there is something extremely bizarre. Like D&D and like tabletop games in general aren't like such they aren't as niche a like an interest now as they may have once been. But it's still not the most common thing to like run into a random stranger on the street and they play D&D or something, right?
Hmm.
But like that's one of the things that always struck me about Gen Con is that at any given moment in a sea of people there are like everywhere you like your attention wanders and you like tune into conversations accidentally. You hear people talking about like ability scores and like and their favorite D20 that they just bought and like all this stuff, and it is wild. It is so weird. It is, yeah. Gosh.
Like all you have to say is yeah, so we got to find a spot to play our game, and like somebody nearby is gonna be like, hey, did you say you're playing D&D?
Oh my god. Okay, this is my favorite story from last year's Gen Con. The way that Olivia and I met, the way that we met Olivia was so we had planned like well ahead of time, even before going, that we were gonna have like our own little like private D&D game with just like friends and like people that maybe we hadn't met before, but you know, and of course reserving spots for anybody we met at the con, who we would be like, yeah, come play games with us. So we of course Caitlin was involved in this because by that point Caitlin was already not just a member of writers room but also like
Ah, best.
not just a member
Anyway.
of the writers room, but we were also like friends by that point. And so one of the things, so we went to like the mall kids meetup because that's where Caitlin was going to be, and we were going to leave directly from there and go find a spot to play our game. So so we were finishing up, and I had met Bree and Finn, her brother, earlier in the day, and they were there as well. So I like went up to them. I was like, "Hey, so we're gonna be playing this like our own like D&D game. Are you guys interested?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And all of a sudden, Olivia, who I hadn't spoken to really at all the entire time we were there, who was like sitting at a table a few feet away, like got up and walked over and was like, "Hey, did I hear you guys saying that you're gonna go play D&D?" I was like, "Yeah, you want to join? I'm Lucas, by the way." And and that's how history was made.
Flash forward 8 months, and Olivia is now a cast member on Infinite Horizon.
But like that's the kind of thing that like it's that's what I think of when I think of like the con experience, right? Like I think of just like exactly that, connecting to people through like this mutual interest that you all just know you're there for the same reasons or a lot of similar reasons and at least have overlap, right? So like and then just like seeing where that weird energy carries you.
Yeah, like you're all short a whole bunch of sleep because like you spent a bunch of time traveling here, and whether that was getting up at the ass crack of dawn for your flight or like driving across the country or like however you managed to get to Indianapolis, um like you're there, and like you're a little loopy on that, and then you kind of just bypass a certain amount of the like initial meeting somebody and establishing like common ground because you already have it, and so you're straight to like okay, yeah, no, we know each other's names now and we have something to talk about, so like we can we can begin connecting, right? It's just
Yeah.
like many things at Gen Con, it's like a very accelerated version of those interactions.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely true. It's I you sorry, you mentioned the whole like like low levels of sleep, and it makes me laugh because I remember like the very first day ever of Gen Con that I went to. Freeman and I had like just we had gone like we'd taken a red eye and like gotten to the convention in the morning because we couldn't check into our hotel,
Oh,
so we had to
oh.
like stay through check-in time at the convention dragging our luggage around because at
All of
that
our
point
stuff.
we didn't know about luggage check-in and stuff like that, which is a thing that you can do at the con. And so we were just like wandering around, sleep deprived, and just like bugging out, and we were like we were just doing this. Our levels of energy were like this all
Yeah.
day, the whole
Mhm.
day. And I like that day I was like, okay, it's fine. We'll get a good night's sleep tonight. Once everything is over, we'll get a good night's sleep, and then it's smooth sailing the rest of the con. It turns out that's just the way Gen Con be. Like that is just
Yeah.
And it's
that's
awesome.
just the way. That is your life when you go there. Your life is just like wildly whiplashing from like, all right, this is cool, I'm excited, let's do this, to like, I need to sit down and not talk to anybody or look at anything, and then just doing that like 15 times a day. Like,
It's not so much like burning the candle at both ends as it is taking the candle and throwing it into a bonfire and then like passing the fuck out after the bonfire runs out of fuel and then just doing it all again the next day.
yeah, it definitely is. Also, I just wanted to point out, Gemini Lightning, you don't have to have hope for that situation, dude, because that is definitely just gonna happen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a like that's there's no maybe about that. That's just like gonna happen. Um,
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, Spigs. I miss the food trucks too. There's so many like cool food. Lucas, you have a story. I remember we talked about this recently.
keep going, keep going. I'm gonna catch up with chat.
Uh-huh.
Lucas and I think like had lunch separately for the first couple of days of Gen Con, which means just that like I had either like packed actually for the first couple of days of Gen Con I didn't really have lunch. I packed like a snack and crammed that in my face and then ate again at dinner time, and that was kind of it. But I remember we got to like, was it Friday or Saturday, and Lucas was just like, I can't pick food trucks.
Oh, it's not even just last year's Gen Con. Like, we're talking like food trucks. I struck out at food trucks across both of them, like 2019 and 2018. Like, never once did I get, except for breakfast. At breakfast, we found a good one.
Breakfast. Oh yes,
That
that's
was
true.
pretty good. But like, we just like I struck out constantly. So this one day I had like finally given up because John and I were like, Freeman and Henry had like gone off somewhere, and like John and I were like, all right, well, it's lunchtime. And I gave up at that point. I was like, John, just you pick a food truck because I'm bad at it. And this motherfucker, the first time he picks a food truck, the very first food truck he picks is amazing. It is so
It was
good.
so
I
good.
still have that flavor, the flavor of the food that I ate in my mouth from time to time, and just so I feel you, Spigs. I absolutely do. Uh,
Those were that food truck was ridiculously
was
good.
so good.
I don't understand. Also, speaking of con friends, hello Walnuts.
Hello, Finn. Finn is
Hello.
here. I miss the dealer's hall. That is my jam at like any con. Yeah, me too. Like that is how a lot of Gen Con is just like existing and being comfortable existing in liminal spaces, such as the con floor,
Yeah.
the showroom floor. It's just sort of wandering around in this sort of zombie shuffle haze, looking around at stuff, like trying simultaneously to perceive all the cool things that are around you at booths and not to run into the like literal hundreds of people in front of you. It's wild. It is it's just like the convention floor is like it's like a fugue state. It's
I remember last year I got a little lost looking for you guys.
That's
I'm not sure where I went or why.
I remember
that was
But
so
it was
funny.
that was hilarious, and I loved it too.
Yeah.
At the same time, I actually was like kind of glad I got lost for a second. I was like,
You sent me
"Ah."
the text exchange. I wish I could go back and find that text exchange because it was like, I'm by the bathrooms under the banner. So are we. No, not that one. It's like that's pretty much like the
Yeah, which banner? Like there's like
Oh
so
my
many
god.
banners.
I'm flashing back vividly to this moment, like you and I, Lucas, like walking along that wall of the dealer's hall.
Mhm.
Like
Just for those of you who are planning to attend an in-person Gen Con, just a little word of advice. Never, ever use the Chessex booth as a point of reference because there's like 70 of them. So, like, which was not a fact that I was aware of until it was far too late and I'd gotten too many people hopelessly lost.
I'm not unconvinced that Chessex dice booths aren't some kind of like benevolent eldritch entity that just multiplies when you're not looking at it. Like
Absolutely.
the moment you look away and you look back, boom, two more Chessex booths appear. Like
It's like that. It's like what's the weird like cryptid thing, the creepy pasta where it's like if you look over your shoulder too many times, then it like gets you. It's like that with the
Uh,
Chessex
Oh,
booth.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and you're buying some more dice.
How did I? What?
Hmm.
yeah.
This episode of Ramblemancy brought to you by Chessex.
No. Dice at cons are like tribbles, but you know,
This is.
dice.
Oh my god, I can hear it rattling.
May I? May I
Do it.
get
Yeah,
into here?
please do.
Part of
I
the
was
con
asking.
experience is showing off people's dice, is showing off your dice to other people. Holy
Showing off.
shit.
Oops. The one that fell out and hit my computer happened to be the steel one. This is overflowing.
Oh my
My
god, it
goodness.
really is.
Well,
Jesus.
okay, a friend of mine actually gave me this box with some dice in it, but the majority of them are mine.
Good.
Yeah. Where did that one go? Yeah, dice are pretty fun. I really don't need this many. No one needs this many dice. I
That's
said
a
it.
lie. That is
I
a
said it.
lie.
I said it.
Don't you dare. I will mute you the rest of this show.
Look at this little suitcase I have for them. Some
They are essential. Every
Yeah,
last
it's-
one of them.
they are.
Mandatory.
I love them. I really do love them.
Heart of Handprints, hello, first of all. I've only been to Gen Con last year, but I have to say that the worst part of it for me was that I had decided to go by bus from the hotel to the convention center. My friend and I both don't have a car, and I felt like I missed so much having to leave before the bus route stopped for the night. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I feel that. There's yeah, there's something to be said. I mean, like, there's so many ways to get around that place, but there is honestly something to be said for God, there's so many pros and cons to like all the different modes of transportation. But
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah,
Uber's great if you can split it with people
if you
who
can,
are
yeah, which is what we did.
Yeah.
We just like cycled who was paying for the Uber at any given time. So
yeah.
um,
We were so ready this year. Our group of
Oh,
I'm
I
still
of
so sad
Gen
about that.
Con
I've
folks,
never been
Me
more
too.
prepared for anything ahead of time in my entire life.
like months ahead, way back in January, we were like, all right, we're gonna get ourselves some con housing like close to the convention center, and had found something that was like kind of even within walking distance.
Mhm.
Um,
No,
so that we could walk over in the mornings.
Yeah.
And then of course everything that
yeah.
happened.
Gosh.
But
Yeah, just like
Chief,
Spigs was saying, splitting an Uber often a good way to go.
Mhm.
Especially if you have people to split Uber costs with, I highly recommend that. But yeah, what was I gonna say? I was gonna look at the Techman. Hello. Was the cheapest food? What was the cheapest food besides some food trucks? The Steak and Shake. Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna explain to you something. Here's another con story. So in the airport on the way to Gen Con, Freeman,
Yes.
Henry, and I stopped at we like had this little like restaurant that we went to because it was like the only thing that was open. And we ate there. Each of us had like a burger or something, and honestly, each of us paid like $30 something. It was terrible because airports.
Mhm.
Airport gouging is a real thing. And then the next night for dinner, we met up with John, and we all were at the Steak and Shake. Each of us had a burger. Freeman had two. I had a milkshake, and it was everybody's meal was under $40.
I remember that. I remember we
And-
went like we
And
went
I
and
know
bought
this
food
for a
like-
fact because I was the one who paid for it. I was like, wait, really? That's it? Oh, fuck it. I got it, dude. I got this one. Like, so I remember very clearly that it was like all of us eating at the Steak and Shake was cheaper than one of us eating at that
Mhm.
restaurant in the airport.
Yeah.
It was not.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing is it was good. It was like filling. It's fast food, but it's like good quality fast food.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like A tier fast food. You know, like
Yeah.
it doesn't make you go like, oh God, why am I eating this while you're eating it? Or in most cases, it doesn't even do it afterwards. So
Yeah. See that Techman, that's exactly what we were going to be doing this year was walking. A
Mhm.
lot of it was probably going to be walking because it was like like
Yeah.
the place we got moved to after the other one
10
closed.
minutes.
It was like
It's
yeah,
a
it was
10
like
minute walk.
10 or 15 minute walk. It was It was
It
wild.
was like it was like maybe a mile away from the convention center,
Yeah.
which is about a 15 to 20 minute walk. So
It's not bad,
Yeah, it
no,
was
not bad at all.
depending on the weather.
right. That's the other
Yeah.
thing.
Which last year was pretty good compared to the year before when we first went, Lucas. When we first landed and had to walk
Oh,
around with all our. Yeah, no, that was a little more humid. I
yeah. This
guess
year
is the
was,
word I'm looking for.
or this last year, in 2019 was super
Was
super nice out. It was like it
out.
got hot, but
Yeah,
it wasn't like the year before where you walked outside and all of your clothes just cling to you.
yeah. I was very
Mhm.
pleasantly surprised. I was like, I feel like I'm in Port Townsend
Uh-huh.
almost, like
Yeah.
weather-wise. There was that
Yep.
breeze.
I remember like going to the Pokemon Go meetup because the community day for Pokemon Go was Gen Con weekend, and the only day that I was really like, oh boy, it sure is hot, is the day that I was walking around in the sun in downtown Indianapolis catching Pokemon.
Yeah.
But,
Absolutely. Yeah. Tekken says, yeah, after a
Oh
couple of
man.
years doing the downtown hotel by myself for the DCI event, I opted to pay less at an Airbnb for it and Gen Con. Yeah, that's a good call. That's that is if that's what if you can get on it early, that is absolutely the way to go, I think. Not that I have any
yeah.
experience in that, but like, you know, looks pointedly at 2020.
Yeah. Well, the great thing about Airbnbs too is you can just like stuff 8 of your friends into a house,
Mhm.
and like it's a good time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh gosh, what was I gonna say? Oh, Amethyst Cat Lady said something earlier that I thought was cool about like conversation pieces, like conversational
Mhm.
clothing pieces. I think that's excellent. See, that's another thing that I love about Gen Con is like just like wearing exactly what Amethyst Cat Lady says, which is like wearing merch from your like favorite stuff, and then having random people you don't know, like come up to you and be like, "Oh my god, I love this, I love it too," or like, "Cool shirt, dude," or like whatever. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
it's the
Mhm.
best. I remember our first Gen Con, Freeman and I, we sort of like didn't know what we were. It's a lot if you've never been and you aren't prepared. It's a lot. And so Freeman and I just sort of like wide-eyed bouncing around places, but like some of the most fun that we had at the 2018 convention was just like standing in line and talking to people.
Yep.
Standing in line for stuff and just chatting with people about things. It was, yeah,
Those long lines really aren't that bad,
they really aren't. Cuz like people in line, everybody's so like full of this like con energy, like everybody's so excited, there's just this buzz, and so that makes everybody naturally more sociable, and so like you just hang out in line and meet new
Mhm.
people.
And that just makes the time kind of fly in a
Mhm.
way that's not like too fast or too slow. It's just like that perfect Gen Con time,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
call it.
And there's also so generally like so much if to like look at any given time
Mm-hmm.
that like cosplay watching is one of my favorite things.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like just sort of like looking through the crowd and be like, "Oh my god, it's Captain Marvel. Oh look, it's Spider-Man." And like,
Or like hearing like thunk 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 behind you, and you turn around and there's a 12-foot tall space marine like
yeah.
just thunking down the middle of the hallway behind you, and you're like, oh my god, how
Yeah.
many people are there in that thing? Like,
Oh gosh, do you
uh,
remember who was I with? I can't I was with one or more of you when we saw that one guy who was like in um like like functional power armor from Fallout,
hmm.
right? Where it was like
I
from
think I
Fallout
was.
4 where it's just like this big like exoskeleton type thing that he stepped into, and it was like
Mhm.
kind of on stilts, and yeah.
Dang, I don't think that was me. I don't remember that.
I don't
That's
know.
epic.
Anyway, hi Bree.
Hi,
Welcome.
Bree.
Hello. Bree, also somebody we met at Gen Con.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we met a whole lot of Rule of Lore friends
Uh-huh.
last year at Gen Con that like
Yeah.
now regularly come hang out with us on various types of our
Yeah.
content. So
We're wearing our lanyards.
mhm.
Freeman's wearing all of them.
Yeah,
John and I chose.
even the one from ECCCCCC. See.
Yep,
The amount of C's in that con changes every time you say it.
as it should. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's see. Um, oh gosh, I'm one of the other things. One of the things I really like about Gen Con, um, and that I really miss about it is being able to like. There's something about the energy of Gen Con that like. So, having been to a Comic Con in Seattle, it's a very different energy when some like your favorite like known personalities are there. Like you gotta, it feels very like impersonal. Like you have to pay for their signing events or for their photo events or whatever, and that's like it's cool, right? I mean, like you still get to like meet them and whatever, but it feels very impersonal because like you're just in a long line of people that you're just lining up, and they gotta kind of have to stand there and just like, all right, I'm gonna sign this real quick, maybe say something that's like kind of like personable, and then move on. Um, but like at Gen Con, like everybody who's there kind of feels like they're also there to have fun at Gen Con, and so you have more opportunity to like actually have kind of personal experiences. Like not that you are going to necessarily,
Mhm.
but you have the opportunity where like it's you know, and granted a lot of those people are also there for business purposes, but they're also there to have fun and to enjoy Gen Con, and I think that's one of like my favorite aspects of it, just being able to like hang out and chat. Like I had a conversation with Monty Cook at the MCG booth last year when they were doing like signing, and I was just hanging out and talking with Monty Cook about, gosh, I don't even remember the context of the conversation, but at the end of it, he was just like, yeah, like I passed him I think it was no, it was the your best game ever. That's what it was. I
Mhm.
passed it to him, and I was like, "Hey, could you sign this?" He's like, "Yeah, okay. What was your name again?" And I told him, and then he like wrote like something personalized in my thing based on our conversation, and it was very like super cool. Like I love that kind of stuff.
I know it was what like at that same point, like we had been to a panel earlier that day with Monty Cook and Shauna Germain on it, and they had this like kind of running gag where they had devised like a point system for the questions, and they
Yeah.
asked somebody, they joked at the beginning, hey, will somebody keep score? And so naturally, being me and having a notebook and pencil handy, I kept track of the score the whole
Yep.
time. And so they had me tell them at the end, but then like when I think I went up during the panel and asked a question, but like I was up there getting also your best game ever signed by Shauna Germain, and the same thing happened. She's like, "Wait, were you the person who was keeping score at the panel earlier?" And so we were just like chit chatting about public speaking and stuff like that for a second. And then she signed my book with something like, yeah, again, something kind of like personal, but it was so fun. Like that's wild to me.
Mm-hmm. And like yeah, and it's just a like a very different vibe than the one that I got at Emerald City Comic Con. Felt more like everybody was there with a specific purpose, right? They had their
Hmm.
thing that they were doing. Like I'm not talking about like the like guests of the convention. I mean like the actual attendees. There was just a very different energy to the thing. Um,
Yeah.
and then also in fairness, Comic Con is one that's like regardless of where it's kind of one of those. It's so general, right? Like there's so many different there's everybody has such different reasons for being at Comic Con, right? Like there's the people who are there for anime. There are the people who are there for like Marvel stuff. There's the people who are there for Star
Mhm.
Wars things. There are people there for video games. There and right like so many different groups that like don't have a lot of overlap, right?
Yeah.
And so then you miss out on that same kind of feeling of like everybody's here to just like hang out and like games, and like that's yeah. It's a very different vibe, I think. Um, yeah, Bree, we definitely hung out yesterday. Bree was in that aforementioned Gen Con friends call.
We had all, several of us had taken our Zoom backgrounds and gone and found like pictures of the convention center from last year and set them as our
Yeah.
virtual background.
Uh huh.
So we all had, if like we all had that. Also, Bree, I appreciate that. I appreciate that tendency. I'm taking that from you next year. Just if you have me sign something, I'm making you sign something too.
Yep. Oh
Oh man,
gosh.
I wish my internet was more consistent yesterday.
I know. Like
I know.
I was gonna I was like at one point I was like, man, we should get Freeman here, and then I remembered that your internet was dying a slow, horrible death.
And it still is. I'm just on a different network
Right.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one is needs fixing.
Um, Verdeman says, I mean, my closest comparison I have are fringe festivals, and I totally get where you're coming from. Yeah, like when people are when it's like a much more focused convention than or gathering of any kind, like it's naturally going to be a different vibe, and it's going to feel a lot more like familiar and personable. I don't know. There's just something there because like you know without a shadow of a doubt that you have at least one common interest with absolutely every one of these 70 plus thousand people around, right? Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so like it does make for those moments where like the most entertaining thing that you remember about Thursday afternoon is standing in line for the signing, like
yeah.
trying to figure out how many copies of Gloomhaven you can all bench.
Honestly,
Like,
I would almost say that I remember like the faces of people I meet in line to events better than I remember the events themselves. Like, and yeah, like,
yeah.
uh, all right, let's see. Sorry, I need to catch up with chat a little bit. Gemini Lightning says, I think if I ever go, I'm going to take a yearbook of sorts and having all of y'all sign celeb. Yeah, exactly. Good call. Sorry, hadn't read that, but when you guys were talking about it, I'm a little bit slow here talking. Anyway,
You're good.
yes, good. That's a super good idea. So, if you do that, you can bet I'm gonna take a Sharpie that I may or may not have brought with me and maybe bought while I was there because I forgot to pack it, and I am going to write in big letters in whatever you have me sign. So
Mm-hmm. I still
Didn't
remember
you-
Lucas and John's excellent Sharpie adventure.
I remember this too.
it makes me so sad that I didn't think to save those snap videos.
I'm so I'm so sad that that is lost in the bowels of Snapchat servers somewhere. Like,
Oh, those were good.
Yeah, John and I went looking for Sharpies so that we could have people sign things, and I went looking for a toothbrush because that was one of the things that I forgot to pack, and didn't realize it until we were there. Um,
mm-hmm.
and wow, it was. Let me just tell you right now, the Indianapolis Mall is not a place you go to. That's the end of that sentence. It's just
So
It is.
bizarre.
I'm convinced
it's
that
not a
there's like
place.
a ball of string rolling around in there and then a minotaur chasing it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not
there
a
is.
place that you go so much that it's a place you get sent for all of your misdeeds in your life. It's
There's
It's like a fifth dimensional maze.
yeah,
there
it's
is no way out. Drums in the deep.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
we cannot get out.
it is some sort of bizarre interdimensional consumerist purgatory, and like
Speaking of
Not to
speaking of
mention
liminal
that every
spaces,
mall. What? Sorry.
yes, exactly, liminal spaces.
Every mall that I've been in was on the first floor.
hmm Oh yeah,
This was 3 or 4. I don't
yeah,
remember.
it's a
I
lot.
got lost after the third.
Yeah, indoor strip mall sprawl. Yes, exactly, Techman. That's exactly what it is. It is like look, I have a really good sense of direction, and even I had no idea when we ended up. Like I didn't know how we had ended up at the same entrance that we came in, having walked in a perfectly straight line as far as I was concerned. So, yeah. Um,
Mall of America is like flawlessly laid out compared to compared to the Indianapolis.
I'm sorry. This is a
the Indianapolis
beautiful
Mall.
reference that Verdeman just made. Alex, we don't go to Indianapolis Mall. Yes, the Indianapolis Mall is the Ravenholm of malls. Yeah, it's yeah.
Here were some other comments that I saw.
Yeah, I'm scrolling up because I lost. Techman says doing demos for MCG for Gen Con, ECCC, and PAX West. I definitely preferred the system of Gen Con to gain participants for gamers. Oh, I'm curious because I've never experienced like the demo side of it. Like, so I'm curious what you mean by that because
Mm-hmm.
that's fascinating. It's more data to add to my comparison pool. Um, let's see. It's much smaller than Mall of America, but in terms of navigating it, I don't think I would be a good judge of that. Yeah, it's
I the MOA too much.
it's wild. Like as far as I was concerned, John and I walked in a straight line through the mall, but somehow ended up back at the same entrance we came in, having still not found either a Sharpie or a toothbrush.
The nice thing about someplace like Mall of America is that, like, if you keep walking in a straight line, you will again intentionally arrive back at the same entrance because it's a big circle. But like, I can't even begin to
The
describe the
Indianapolis Mall
strange non.
utilizes non-Euclidean geometry. I'm
I
convinced
Right.
was
of it.
just gonna say,
The deep dwelling of Cthulhu.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
he
this
chose here because if enough people at Gen Con chant the right things when they're trying to imitate Cthulhu cultists in their games, they'll accidentally summon him.
Yeah.
So
The only way to get out is using that compass from the Pirates of the Caribbean.
the compass, the Jack
The
Sparrow's compass.
the
Yeah.
Jack Sparrows.
Uh
Yeah.
huh. It's the only way to get out.
actually,
Man.
Amethyst Cat Lady, I know what mall you were talking about. I live pretty close to that one, and yes, if you can imagine Coralville Mall, but then you took like two different copies of it and stacked them on top of each other, but rotated them a bit each time, then you've got Indianapolis Mall.
It's probably way less complicated than we're making it out to be, but dear God, we were so frustrated, like to the point where we just like. I made several snap videos, culminating in the one where John took the snap video, and he's like, it was basically something to the effect of John saying, "Hi, Lucas can't come to the phone right now because," and then he rotates the phone, and it's just me going, "I just wanted a Sharpie." I was only like
That
half
was-
pretending to cry. Like I was like some of that was real. Like there's a certain.
Uh-huh.
I was,
It
very
was-
tired and hungry and like
It was pretty raw, like
Hmm.
yeah.
method acting at its finest.
Oh God, it was. But anyway, um, oh gosh, I've never actually been to the Tulalip Mall, Gemini. I've been past it, but I've never actually been there, so I couldn't say.
Yeah, I think I made a couple of lap spree before I managed to find the food court when I was looking for the Mall Kids meetup, which, like, fair. The Mall Kids meetup deserved to be in the mall.
All right, a
No.
ringing endorsement for the Tulalip Mall from Gemini Lightning. All right, cool.
Sounds familiar.
Techman says Gen Con has guaranteed players for sessions scheduled because players must sign up and pay to reserve their seat. The other cons are melange of activities and not necessarily having TTRPG roots, so they don't. I think the closest Northwest con is Norwest Con, but I hadn't actually run anything for that. Probably too small. Okay, that's interesting because I didn't realize that other cons didn't do the sign up ahead of time thing. That sounds like it would be maddening as the person who is running it. That I can't even imagine. But yeah. It's funny, Vertiman, because I was gonna make that same joke. Welcome to Ramblemancy. Come for the Gen Con stay for bashing every mall.
Yeah, what a mood.
Fair. Yeah, Techman, I could see how that would be incredibly irritating. Like I don't even know how you handle that. Cuz like, I mean, what do you do if nobody actually shows up? I mean, and then they just show up randomly and then you try to use whatever time you have left? Is that how that works? Cuz that sounds terrible. Yeah. You know what's funny? I don't think I've actually played any official games at Gen Con.
I don't think I have. Actually, I went to an official Magic the Gathering event.
Yeah, where you charmed your way in when you because you had to because you were late.
Yeah. I was like 2 minutes past the start time, and they're like, "Sorry, you can't get in." And I walked over to like redeem my refund my tickets, and the person was like, "Wait, isn't the event just starting?" I was like, "Yeah, they told me they couldn't come in." Like, they're like, "Do you still want to play?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Yep.
Real life bar.
Yeah. John, actual
Living up-
real life bard. Actually,
living up to my handle.
what's funny about that is that at the Super Punks meetup that year, John left early so he could go to that Magic tournament and texted me about this, and I showed Olivia, who again I had just met the previous night and played D&D with. I showed Olivia, and she's like, "Oh my god, he's a bard. He really is a real life bard." And I was like, "Yeah, it is a real thing." Um,
Yeah, I took several levels in Bard in college before I switched. Actually, no, like I switched to an English major, which is realistically just another kind of Bard. So,
True.
yeah, I mean, Shakespeare,
hmm true. The
the
Bard.
bard. Yeah, exactly. Um, Techland says we did use sign up sheets for time slots for ECC and PAX. It was okay work for that, but the game demos were in the same space as our booth, a conference room. Okay, I see. okay, so the demos. Okay, I understand. Yes. Okay, sorry, I was kind of like conflating like the like con games and the demo stuff. So yeah, still though, that seems like it would be rough. Um, let's see. But yeah, like I was thinking about this because the first year Freeman and I actually signed up to we were gonna play a Star Trek Adventures game, I think is what it was, but opted instead to just wander around the con some more.
Yeah.
Because I think it wasn't it like the last day of the con. It was like
I think it was because we had signed up for this, and at the time we signed up for it, we didn't actually know what things would be like getting into the con. And then when we actually experienced the con, we realized this is our last day. We don't want to commit to something. We want to
yeah,
do the last rounds
get
and
some
run into people. And
yeah, and I'm glad we did because that's how I met
me
Matt
too.
Colville.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't have done if we'd gone to the to the Star Trek Adventures game.
Hmm.
I yeah met
That was good. It was a
Matt
good
Colville
move.
there, and yeah, that was pretty cool. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think for me, I have always been somebody who is not a fan of organized activities, like to some degree, right? Like I enjoy them, but I like a loose structure within which I can determine my own path.
Yeah.
Because like I've never been I've never understood like tourist packages, where you like get on like buses and go on
Yeah.
tours every day that are like scheduled and curated, and I'm like, why would you do that? How about instead of like doing this that you just like actually be in the place that you're going to? I don't know. Anyway, that that that's why for me I think see Gen Con like going to Gen Con involves becoming best friends with FOMO. You must become best friends with FOMO because it will never go away.
No, like even choosing to go to something that you like came to Gen Con to see,
Hmm.
you're still like, oh man, but I want to go see this other thing. And you're like, and I don't fear of missing out is what
Yeah.
FOMO is. Fear of missing out. But you're like you're like, I wish I could be in like four different places at once. Like, can I just Pumat soul my way into being in several different places, please?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I swear to God, like the events that all of the events that I want to go to are always scheduled like overlapping by 30 minutes. And I'm just like,
See, and
I
that's the thing.
wandered
Like,
around the con floor for 6 hours today, and now all of you are doing things at the same time.
see, and that's the thing. Like, I have never really participated in like an organized game at Gen Con. I might one day, we'll see. But the reason is because I feel like I get so much more out of just wandering around and looking at stuff. I don't know. It's just like I get so much more out of that. Like, don't get me wrong. I live for like the seminars and stuff. But oh, bye Bree.
Bye, Bree. We
Bye.
love you too.
Um, I live for like panels and seminars and stuff like that. Those are so much fun, and generally they're like an hour to an hour and a half, so there's not a whole lot of room for FOMO in those. Um, but like, I remember the first year, pretty much our entire Gen Con schedule consisted of like going to all the Geek and Sundry events, and like that was it. That's what we did, and like they were mostly panels, and so
Yep. Sorry, just
yeah. And
chat is
they were
saying
mostly
goodbye.
panels, and they were super interesting and extremely informative, and like learned a lot of cool stuff,
Hmm.
met a lot of cool people. Um, Yeah, I don't know. They're like I enjoy panels because they stimulate in they stimulate my brain in good ways in the same in this not the same way that like interacting with people at the cons does, but like in an equal measure. Let's put it that way, in equal measure.
They hit in a different kind of more specific way, and it's
Well,
one of the things actually that I was thinking about. Oh, what were you gonna say?
no, I was just saying. Well, it's also the fact that like with a game, especially a like a TTRPG, that's pretty much you're committing to sitting down and being in one place for like 5 hours. That is a
Hmm.
significant percentage of the con.
Yeah, like if you start breaking the amount of time that things are going on in the in the weekend, like 5 hours is uh what yeah, no, it winds up being a pretty significant chunk
It is
of
math
a day.
percentage.
It is math. I'm not going to do the math right
Yeah,
now,
it
and
is
I
math
can't do it in my
percentage.
head, but um yeah, no, it winds up being a lot. And so like panels are nice like ways to kind of engage with things that you might not otherwise in like kind of smaller sizes. Like I know last year some of the most fun that I had was like those industry guest of honor panels
Hmm.
that I went to.
Yeah, those are super cool.
And that's like one of the other things that I super, especially as somebody who's starting to like dip his toes into the field of like freelance writing and editing, like one of the things that I'm super missing about not having con season in general, but also not having Gen Con this year is just like those also prove to kind of be huge networking opportunities and huge learning opportunities for people who are looking to like find their way into the industry of like writing and writing for TTRPGs and like illustrating, like all these different like ways to get involved. And like there's a fair portion of that that just involves like putting a face to a Twitter handle
Yeah.
and being like, "Hey, so I've been following your work forever, and I'm interested in doing similar stuff."
Okay, that makes me think of another one of my favorite Gen Con stories, which is how I met Caitlin. I feel like I've probably told this story, probably even on this channel, but I'm gonna do it again
Probably, but
because it's great. Um, but that was exactly my experience in meeting Caitlin because I knew her handle because of Shield of Tomorrow. Because on Shield of Tomorrow, they would like mention her. They would mention her artworks occasionally, and I remember what's really funny to me, Caitlin and I still laugh about this, is that the piece of artwork that I associated with her handle was like in a medium that she rarely, if ever, works as, like the one piece of art that is unlike all the rest of her art because it was a painting.
yeah, that painting of the, is it the Ross?
Yeah, the Ross with
Yeah,
like,
the painting.
or no, not the Ross. There was the ride, the Sally
The
ride.
Sally Ride, the
Yeah,
Sally
the
Ride.
Ross is the current one. Um,
Hmm.
but with
Crossing my Eric Campbell verse
yeah,
wires.
it was the Sally ride like flying into that like piece of space station, and that was the piece that I associated with that. That and the underwater piece was also, so those two I
Yeah.
associated with Caitlin's handle. I did not know who she was. I just knew her handle. So Freeman and I were at the alpha party, and I saw her wandering around. Didn't know who she was, um, but I remember noting that she had this really amazing like fish scale makeup on because the theme for the alpha party was depths of Atlantis or something like that, and it was. I remember noting that because I kept wanting to like whenever I saw her, I kept wanting to like stop her and be like, "Hey, that makeup is dope. It looks so good." And but then like overwhelmed and chickened out and that whole kind of thing. Anyway, the point is
Hmm.
the next day, some on like I was like we were literally sitting in our hotel room, hadn't even gone to the con yet. We were just like I think I was waiting for Freeman to get out of the shower, and I was like on my phone on Twitter, and I saw somebody had retweeted a photo, um, like the Caitlin's post about like, hey, come say hi to me on the con floor today or whatever, if you see me walking around. And I saw her, and I was like, oh, that's that girl that I saw walking around. And then I saw and I saw her handle. I was like, oh, that's who that was. And then that day at I think it was at the Shield of Tomorrow signing actually, the book signing. I saw her and I like was like, hey. So yes, like I've seen you at a bunch of these events. Had no idea who you were until this morning, but hi, and like that's how Caitlin and I met. So yep.
Yeah. And then here we are, like a year and a half after or like what? No, like 2 years later, and and we all do this magical thing together.
Mm-hmm. Yes. um.
Tech,
Sorry.
I
Go
was
ahead.
just glancing at chat. Techman said, "I view the 4-hour Gen Con game sessions as a way to try out a system that I might invest money into or try out the latest material from a system you know." He said, "Frankly, the only system I demo for just 2 hours is the Cipher system or similar, because I'd go nuts doing D&D in 2 hours."
Oh God.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
that would be.
like fair. Sometimes I have a hard time compressing my home game into 4 hours, and like
It's like
I
that would be like herding cats if like the location where you were herding them was also on fire. So like.
it was on fire and also constantly moving. Like
Yeah. Gosh. Um. Yeah. No, I feel you on that one. Um.
yeah, I don't know. You'd I'm just trying to imagine as a GM, like I think it would be fun to play in a game, like a scheduled game at a con sometime, just to see how like a GM there does it, because it'd be wild to see how they structure it so that a bunch of people who have never played with each other before can sit down and finish a game of D&D in 4 hours,
Mhm.
especially since they have to hammer out like, you know, what, 3 or 4 of those a
Yeah.
day.
I will say this right now. I am not now. I may one day, but I am not currently brave enough to run a con game.
I'd be terrified.
Uh-huh.
I'd be terrified running for a bunch of strangers.
Well, like even with our private game that we ran where we met a bunch of people, like I took a when everybody was like well, like we John when we went prepared. We created like a bunch of like prefab character sheets that people could like fill in details and whatever. And
Hmm.
like while people were filling in theirs, I took a bathroom break, which was actually more accurately a take a second and panic for a second break. I just like was like sat in a bathroom stall and was just like for like 5 minutes, and then I came back.
What are you talking about? Sorry, I had to go and open up way all the windows. My room's way
Yeah,
too
no, I was
warm.
talking about the like how I'm not brave enough to run a con game. Um, like I like because even the one that like our private D&D game, I had to take a panic break at the beginning before we ran. So
And
yeah,
like there were quite a few people that you knew at that table
yeah,
too.
that was
Like
the
I
other thing.
can't.
Like there's
Hmm.
there's a bunch of people that I knew, and then there were like a few people who like it was actually about half and half, I would say, about people that I knew and people I didn't know.
Hmm.
You know, it was also there were like nine players. So
Yes.
Yeah.
there were like nine people in that D&D game. I remember before we set off to go play that game, I remember Matthew Gravlin because we left directly from the Mall Kids meetup, and Matthew Gravlin, one of my proudest moments in Gen Con was Matthew Gravlin like looking at us so skeptically. He's like, "You guys are really gonna go play D&D with 10 people?" And I was like, "Yeah, it'll be fine." And I had like having zero confidence to that fact whatsoever. I was like, "Yeah, no, we'll totally be fine." Um, and then the next day, like all the people who were involved tweeting about how great it was and how much fun it was.
Do we bump into Matthew again? And he was just like, I couldn't believe it, or something
Oh,
like
I
that. But
didn't. I don't think I saw him again after the Mall Kids meetup, but yeah, that was
I
That
want to
does sound
say
familiar
yeah.
I
for
want to
some
say that I
reason.
did, but it was super
Hmm.
funny because like because I know what kind of games Matthew Rivlin makes, and they're like mostly like GM-less kind of small group or solo
Hmm.
games, and so just like the look on
Oh,
his
I
face
know.
when he
Like
was
what
like
we were
10
doing is
people.
his nightmare. Like
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that I feel like he wakes up in a cold sweat dreaming about. Like,
that's his stress dream, I bet. Um
yeah,
Hmm.
stuck playing D&D with 10 strangers,
yeah, no,
and worse, D&D 3.5.
Vertiman says, "Man, the only way I can see D&D work in 2 hours is to have preset characters and like two rooms." Yeah, that's ooh, man, it would be rough. What I'm very curious about, not that I think I would enjoy it. I'm just curious because I don't understand it. Is Freeman? Remember when we like that huge fuck off room with like where there were like hundreds of people playing Pathfinder the same campaign?
Yeah.
I'm super
Yeah.
curious about that. I don't think I would enjoy it, but I want to do it just so I can understand it because I That is wild to me. I don't know how it works. Like, is there like one GM who's like running, and then like other GM, like sub GMs at the various tables, or like what? How does that?
I know it's pretty crazy.
Like I imagine they just have like a module that they give to
Mm-hmm.
everybody, and they're just like, all right, so you're running the game at this table. Here's your here's your dice. Here's your prefab character sheets. Go be free. Like,
Yeah, that just seems that's so wild to me, and I want so badly to understand it, knowing full well that I will not enjoy it. My curiosity is warring with my need to like have a good time in tabletop RPGs.
Hmm.
um
yeah. Gemini Lightning asked, "What about an Infinite Horizon live show?" And boy, howdy, would that be the
Listen, we
dream?
have joked about it.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about that. Well, that and the fact that there are lots of other things that we have joked about that afterwards we were like, wait, but what if we did though?
But what if we did? Yeah.
So that's my
Yeah.
non-answer to you. Yeah, it'd be fun.
I'd bring a whole new level, another layer to it. The whole experience, really.
No spoilers, but that literally happened in writer's room today.
Yeah. I suspect you're right, Vertiman. That sounds similar to like the D&D Adventures League. I suspect that's essentially what it is, but for Pathfinder. I would not be surprised. Um, I just don't even really fully understand that either. Like I have vague understanding of those types of games at cons, but yeah, like a mass tabletop RPG event just is fascinating to me. Yeah, I don't know. I want to experience it one day just to say that I did it. I may not ever do it again after that, but just to say that I did it and just so I can know what the fuck was going on in that fucking room.
Hmm.
Lucas's inner Slytherin coming out. He has ambition to dare himself to do something stupid just because while everyone sits there and goes, Lucas, no, why? Correct. Man, every once in a while, I'm forcefully reminded of the fact that I am absolutely 100% definitely a Slytherin.
Meanwhile, like the Hufflepuff is over here, like, I don't know where I am or what I'm doing, but I'm with people I like,
I'm just
so
happy
like
to be
this is
here.
fine.
Right.
I'm just happy to
Gosh.
be here. Vertiman says, I can comfortably say that about 90% of my career is laughing at the prospect of doing said thing and then just saying, but what if I do, though?
It's
That's-
like
yeah.
it's like the embodiment of that. But what if we? No, unless me.
Unless.
JK, unless.
But what if?
Yeah, that one.
Tekken says the way I imagine it going is that there are a handful, if not around 2 or 3 modules that are intro amongst the so the game table layouts can be distributed well enough and not have to run into bleed over gaming. Yeah, that's what I suspect too, and I want to experience it because like I said, I think the best way to explain it is that I have a good conceptual understanding of how it works, but it's totally separate from any like that's very different than being there and experiencing it and understanding it from the inside, and that's what I want to know. I want to know how like I understand conceptually how it's supposed to work, but how does it actually work? Like that's what I want to know. Let me see. Get into the nuts and bolts of it. That's what I want to see.
And I think there'd be a lot of fun there as somebody who like both plays and runs games. Like I think it'd be a lot of fun to sit down at a table like that
Mm-hmm.
and watch somebody who has exactly 3 hours to run this game run the game. And especially like for a group of people who like may not have played the system before.
Yeah.
So like it'd be interesting to like try and learn some GM behaviors from that.
Yeah. It's like see this one by contrast. This type of game, it's like herding cats, but the cats are the ones on fire. Like that's the that's what this one
Yeah.
seems more like. I'm just over here outing myself as like somebody who would just absolutely not want to run something like this. I'm just currently like outing my feelings about those types of games while still also being incredibly fascinated by them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Anyway, what was I going to say? I was going to say something relevant to these types of games. Well, okay, this isn't really relevant, but it just made me think of that one guy that we saw like all of Gen Con just running werewolf the whole time, nonstop. Like I don't think that dude slept.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Like this was chat. This was like a real con cryptid. Like
Oh
there are
my
con
god, yeah.
cryptids, of course, but this guy is actually like I could not describe him to you if I tried.
I would even
Like
if I don't know for sure, but I would believe it if somebody told me that it wasn't even an official Gen Con event. He just like kept running various games of werewolf for random people.
I'm pretty sure he did. Like it was like that medieval like perpetual stew, but like he was the pot and everybody else was the
Yeah.
werewolf stew.
Although
Like it the
there
players changed,
if
but
you actually look at the con schedule though, there's games of werewolf that run through the night. So like it's entirely possible that it was a real actual con event and he just signed up for all of them. He just did all of them.
yeah, but like I remember we saw him like Friday night when
Hmm.
we were doing that SCP game. Like I would walk past and they would still be there. We were in the con center at like 3 in the
Yeah.
morning that night, and like the night that you were running D&D, we heard people like screaming from over there intermittently. And then
Hmm.
like Saturday, I think we walked past that when we were looking for a place to play Weave, and
Even during the
like it's
day,
still there.
like
Yeah,
all day, that dude was just there. Like there were more this was like a kind of an out of the way part of the convention center, and I can say with absolute certainty that the number of times that I walked by there and he wasn't there were far outnumbered by the times that he was. So like
yeah, yeah.
so yeah. Um that person has my respect.
Yeah,
Confusion,
for real.
but respect.
Hmm.
That is some real passion for playing werewolf, or just
Yeah.
like a very
Yeah.
focused version of Gen Con Fugue State. Like
Yeah,
some say he is
he kind of did a little bit turn into a landmark kind of like like oh yeah, over there by that perpetual
by the
werewolf
werewolf
game.
game.
We'll meet up over by the you know those tables over by the werewolf game? Yeah, that's where we'll be. Like
There were a few times that I got lost, and like even walking past like the mini painting place, I wouldn't recognize it as a place that we had played games a couple of times after they were done with mini painting. And then I would see the werewolf game, or like those chairs and a few people lounging in them like playing werewolf, and I'd be like, oh, I know where I am now. Like
Hmm.
that's that hallway, and okay, cool. I've oriented myself.
yeah. Techman says grand ballroom size gaming sessions do require some dedicated concentration to follow the game because it feels more like being at a restaurant. I don't prefer it. See, yeah, that's kind of how I feel I would feel about it. But there's just this part of me, this nagging, annoying, chaotic, and destructively inclined part of my brain that says, "Do it, do it."
See, I think the games that are really good for that kind of experience are the ones that are not like crunchy TTRPGs.
Hmm.
Like one of the little things on my lanyard here is one that I got after I like bought a bunch of Red Dragon Inn, and that was one that I picked up pretty much exclusively because I happened to pass a place and somebody was like, "Oh, Red Dragon Inn." And I was like, "I haven't played it before," and you could sit down and play a demo of it,
Hmm.
like play 4 or 5 rounds of it. And like Red Dragon Inn is a game that like at its longest will take you about 20 minutes to play.
Yeah.
So like playing 3 rounds of that to get a feel for it, or playing like 10 minutes of that game to get a feel for it, is something that like you could do like fairly
Right.
comfortably.
Yeah. Trying to or I think that's the thing that scares me the most about like or just gives me anxiety at least the most about those mass games is the fact that the system that they're using is so crunchy and mechanically complex. Like I don't yeah, I don't know. It's wild. Um Gemini says, speaking of werewolf game, B Dave is starting one in Q times in August. I think I vaguely heard about that. Yeah, that's really interesting. See, because like I'm I'm one of I was interested in uh, Vampire the Masquerade only in so much as like the stories that were being told with it with like LA by Night. I was only interested in the stories, but the system got a little difficult for me to like get my mind around. But that's and so now I'm super curious what the other World of Darkness games are like, and I'd really be interested in experiencing that. So I may have to check that out because yeah, the like where the werewolf one has always kind of fascinated me. I know literally nothing about it, but I don't know, for some reason I feel like that would be more my jam than vampire. I don't know.
Hmm.
But
Also, yes, Gemini Lightning. There are so many expansions to Red Dragon Inn. I think I have just the first two, but there are a zillion of it. It's a great palate cleanser game. Like,
yeah. Yeah. I still got to play that at some point.
I was planning on bringing it out when I came to visit at some point this spring, but gestures vaguely at his window.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Um oh gosh. Freeman,
What's
tell us
up?
some of your thoughts about Gen Con.
Well, um, we got to the first year. We got to meet Liam and Sam
Oh yeah. That's true.
just by happenstance.
Hmm.
Totally by accident.
It was totally by
Honestly,
accident.
it was luck.
Yeah, we gave
Whew.
up because those people, like, understandably, the cast of Critical Role fucking hide during Gen Con. They go
Yeah,
out onto the con floor the very last day where there's the least likely to be, like, where there's the most likely to be, like, fewer people, and they are in disguise. Like
they rolled good
we're
stealth
talking
checks.
full on hoodies, sunglasses, baseball caps, the whole deal. So it was totally by accident that we ran into those
It was
two.
it was by accident. We
Really, they ran
we
into us, kinda.
it's
Hmm.
very true. We were at a booth looking at. I believe that's why we were looking at journals. We actually found a
Hmm.
few journals at that booth for our home game D&D group. We wanted to bring the everyone back a journal for characters. I think that was the same booth, right?
Yeah, it was.
I
Well,
think.
you were there, and I was talking to Keith Baker, the creator of
Yeah.
Eberron. I was talking to him about Eberron actually, and that's when
You were
we
you
yeah.
you were doing useful things, and I was just having giddy butterflies going crazy in my stomach at the whole time. I didn't know what to do. So we ended up shaking hands.
Yeah,
And Sam did a secret handshake. He
he
went
did
like
the little
this. We didn't actually do, yeah, we didn't do any contact. I
yeah.
was like, cool, thank you guys. And
Hmm.
then that was
Hmm.
it. I walked away and I was like, like now I wouldn't be as, you know, I wouldn't lose my mind over it as much now.
Yeah,
I would still like to meet up with Ryan Gosling and have like a mutual like same birthday drink
there you
together. I
go,
wonder if he likes the same drinks I do.
dude. I
Hmm.
bet
But
I would not be surprised if that dude is like into tabletop games.
I wouldn't be either.
Yeah, that would not surprise me at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
But in any case, I love Gen Con and I'm really sad that,
Hmm.
we can't be there right now and I
I
can't
know.
can't
Like,
see y'all.
I met so many of the stream punks last year, and I had a very poor idea of who they all were and what they all did, and like everybody around, they were extremely important to everybody around me, and I was like, these people are great. I wish I knew anything about them. And now, like, this year has rolled around, and I've watched a whole bunch of their stuff, and I'm like, okay, these people are like actually the best. I love them,
Hmm.
and now I can't go be like, oh my god, I love this thing that you do face to face with them.
That just reminded me of an experience that Freeman and I had that first year of Gen Con. We went to the meetup, we talked with some people and some of we talked with some of them, and I remember after the meetup was over, we left, we decided to go eat lunch and then wander the con floor, and we did that, and as we're wandering, we walked past where Eric Campbell was standing looking at some dice, and he just sort of like, as we're walking past, he just sort of like did like sort of a casual glance around, saw us, and I was like, oh hey guys, and then I was just like, oh hey Eric, and then Freeman and I walk like 10 more feet, and I look at him like, what the fuck was that? Did I just casually like, hey Eric, who the fuck am I? Like, what? Like,
Lucas,
Exactly.
hey Eric, walks around the corner, has a crisis. Like,
Has
what?
a literal
it
like
was though.
meltdown.
It was though. Like
Hmm.
we got like 15 feet away, and I turned to Freeman. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like, it was simultaneously. It was simultaneously. I would say it was more my. It wasn't so much that I was like freaking out at just like the casual interaction with Eric Campbell, but
Mm.
more at how like okay with it I was, and how like casual I was about it, and that
Hmm.
realization that like literally the day before the idea of that type of interaction would never have even entered my wildest imaginings. It was, yeah, it was very funny. Uh,
It's one of the things that's so wild about conventions is that, and especially Gen Con, is that like you are all there for the very same reason, and like you have like you see the people who do the thing like that you like, or like make the content that you like,
Hmm.
engage, not just like creating content for, but also like engaging in that same hobby.
mm-hmm.
And so it's just like, oh yeah, hey, like we're both buying dice because well, you know, there's
Yeah,
that, it's that like point of familiarity, like ah yes,
yeah.
we have both done, we both do this thing.
I think it was just that last bit of like, because there's a step over point, right, where you have the
Hmm.
this is an internet personality, somebody that I know generally on a screen, and and also the, but this is also a person, right? And there's like
Yeah.
that step over point, and that was like that last bit of that it was the last bit of that just dying for me. That was that moment where it was I that in that moment I had a freak out because I was still existing in the liminal space. I was still existing in like straddling that line, and that was me finally taking the last step over it, where I'm like, all right, I can do this. And yeah, it's yeah.
You do the same thing at a certain point in your college experience with with some of your professors too.
Yeah,
Like at a
yeah.
certain point you go from like, oh my god, this is this like academic persona and font of knowledge, to like, oh, hi Amy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. That okay, so on that note, I remember one of my senior year in college, I had to do, it was the last semester, I had a single requirement that was still unaccounted for. Like everything else I was signed up for and I was registered for it, but I had one thing that was unaccounted for, and that was my like, either it was like what it was going to be like an independent study or an internship or like whatever that we were required to do, and I still hadn't done it, and I had one semester left, so I like desperately went to the art department and went to like, because I figured they were the ones most likely to put up with my bullshit, with my ideas. And so I went in there, I sat down with them, and with like the guys who were acting as the interim department heads at the time, and talked with them, and uh, pitched an idea about like uh, doing an independent study on the aesthetics and the narrative aesthetics of like tabletop games.
mhm.
And they, first of all, they both loved the idea, but eventually one of them ended up being my advisor for that particular independent study. And our the final project that I had was where I basically ran like a short session of a TTRPG for my advisor and several other people of my choosing that I brought in. And so afterwards, like, so like to go from a point of like, this is a professor, these are people who are academicians who have a level of knowledge that I do not yet have but can only aspire to, and then that step over point to be like, hey Ben, want to play some games? Like, and and then to have him
Yeah.
walk out of that room being like, man, this is the best final ever. And he was
Well, I remember when I was doing my senior project, uh, was also D&D related. I've talked about it a few times before when I've been on Ramblemancy, but I wrote about Dungeons and Dragons and like the narrative aspects of it and how it is similar to like the kind of types of stories we see in fantasy.
Mhm.
But I remember talking, like your advisor is one of the people who grades your senior paper, but then like a couple of other readers from the department look at it. And so you know who they are. So I was talking to one of my other readers, my rhetoric professor, and he's like, yeah, I'm about halfway through your paper. And he's like, I'm like, first of all, not two things. First of all, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but whatever, like you're probably fine based off what I've read so far. And then also, um, he was like, I've been searching for the underground game of Dungeons and Dragons on campus. There's one on every, like the underground faculty game that like is just like is the highest secret. Like they just absolutely cannot be leaked. Its very existence cannot even be leaked to students. Like I haven't managed to find it yet.
That's
It's Dr.
amazing.
Garcia.
Mm-hmm. I believe that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I could see that. Um.
It could be that he did know its existence and he was trying to throw me
He's
off.
trying to throw you
but-
off. Yeah, yeah. Um, Gemini Lightning says, "I have my pick with Amy in Callista 6 shirt, and she's wearing a Gen Con shirt." Yeah, I think I've seen that photo. That was a fun experience. At Emerald City Comic Con, getting to hang out with Amy Dallin at one of the Geek and Sundry meetups. That was a lot of fun.
It was.
Yeah, Vertiman, that like almost certainly there must be one. I simply can't imagine that there isn't one. In fact, I know that there is one that at least it might not be the one, the secret one, but I know that there is one that some of our school's faculty participate in.
We're gonna have to talk about that afterwards
Uh-huh.
and theorize like who's. I think we've had we decided what our department like professors would
it's
be in.
it's
D&D,
honestly no
but-
surprise to me that like the ones that I know for a fact, the ones who are like not secretive at all about their tabletop game obsession are like the art professors. Like that does not surprise me in the slightest. It completely tracks.
Yeah. Have you seen? I mean, have you seen the art in most TTRPG books? Like, it's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Oh gosh. Let's see. Amethyst Cat says, "See, I had zero chill when I bumped into Sunny Straight at Anime Con. Like, I knew he was a guest at the con, but he suddenly poofed into existence less than 10 feet away from me at a table in the dealer's room. Yeah, I could see, but that's the thing. See, it's different. It's different when you know that they're going to be there, and are like expecting them to be in a specific place, because then you sort of psych yourself up for it. It's very different when they're just like suddenly like, oh, okay, this is happening, I guess, right? Like it's very, very different. Freeman remembers we met Bonnie Gordon in the airport, and I was like low key panicking for a while, even though
Yeah.
I knew conceptually I was going to run into her at some point at Gen Con. I was not prepared to do it at the airport, and so I just like low key panicking for a while. So yeah, that was
I remember I was in Tampa, Florida, like, and I bumped into somebody that Lucas knew that I did not, but like I bumped into Tall Squall, and he was
my
just
God.
like, he
that
was
dude
like,
is like
"Hey,
one of the
who-"
nicest people. He's like everybody's D&D dad.
he is the epitome of D and Dad. Like,
Yeah.
somebody in chat, please pun jail me for that. That was the worst, but
I think there's actually a podcast called that. Like,
I believe it.
I think
I
there
believe
it's something like that. Anyway, yeah. Techman says, "You familiar with Keith's The Doom that came to Atlantic City Monopoly type board game? I played it when he had demoed it at the HP Lovecraft Film Festival gaming room. I didn't know about that actually. That sounds awesome. Ah, gosh, I'm gonna have to look into that, because really most of what I know about his work is Eberron, and that's like it. And then there was like a cat related game that he was showing at that same convention where Freeman and I were nearby, but I don't remember much about that game, because I was doing the thing that people with anxiety do, where I was like rehearsing everything that I was going to say in my head like a million times. So I wasn't super listening to like his pitch about the game, which I kind of felt bad about, but at the same time it was worth it. So it was worth it to like have a significantly reduced possibility of making a complete ass of myself. So so yeah. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of like other stuff.
Yeah, something some nice thing to put a button in the a button on the conversation. Actually, that might be a good one, because we are about it at our usual stalling Minnesota goodbying time. Gemini Lightning says, "Speaking of Gen Con, what other panels / shows are you going to be tuning into this weekend? Got any that you guys are gonna be checking out this weekend?"
I haven't signed up for any. I feel like if do you know if you can still get some for some of the events?
Yeah,
I can't imagine
There's
that
a
you
lot
can't,
of
because you can at like in-person Gen Con.
Hmm. And a lot of them are hosted on people's Twitch channels, or like you are done on YouTube Live too. And the ticket system is just so that like they can show attendance for it, so you
Right.
can like turn in your ticket online, and then they know how many people came to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been looking around at some of the stuff that I heard teased last night at the Evening with Monty Cook Games stuff, and there was one that I went to this morning that was about Title Blades, the Title Blades RPG, which is it I'm so excited about. I didn't know about that. I didn't even know that the board game existed until last night, and now they have an RPG about it. And the fact that Sean and Jermaine has written for it has me so psyched up for it. So that's one of the
Olivia
things.
sent me a message this morning which with just like the link to the announcement and just bro in like all caps and like, and, like
I know.
I didn't and I was my brain was very busy waking up, so I like didn't fully grasp what she was sending me, and I was like looking at it, I was like, okay, what is I don't okay, sure. And like it took me like about an hour and a half later to finally be like because she then explained it to me, and it took me like an hour and a half before like I had absorbed the information, processed it, and was like, oh, oh. So yeah,
Yeah, there's a bunch of contributors from the MCG like staff
mm-hmm.
that like worked directly on it and like doing the world building and stuff like that, and like the aesthetic of the game is so cool. So I remember Olivia also, I think I posted the announcement of it this morning, and Olivia just commented in all caps, "I am excited."
Yeah. Oh gosh. Um.
What about next year's convention?
Ooh.
Oh,
Well.
We'll be even more prepared. Uh,
um.
we'll see.
So. Um.
what are you guys assuming that let's on erring on the side of wild optimism, assuming that there is Gen Con next year, in Gen Con in person, what are you guys most
Optimism.
looking forward to?
I don't know her. Uh, I don't. I never met her.
But if we have an in-person Gen Con next year, what
Yeah.
are you guys most looking forward to?
This may
So
be,
many things.
yeah, this may be like 6 no like a bunch of months of quarantine speaking, but I am most looking forward to seeing people I don't get to see otherwise.
I'm listen, those con friend hug like con friend hugs like and on the first day, like on
I will
Wednesday or
cry.
Thursday.
I am going to cry.
I know, me too. I am going to like fucking ugly cry,
It's
lose
gonna
my
be a
shit.
mess. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it right now, John. We're not even there.
Oh, Freeman's just like, nope, nah,
No.
I can't. I believe it. I believe it, Gemini.
I'm gonna
I'll
words.
hold you to
I'm gonna
that.
test you. I'm gonna test that out. I'm gonna test that. Um, yeah, I think that and like I don't know, just that there's just that indescribable feeling of being at Gen Con that you like can't explain to somebody who's like never been.
It's happening 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
That childlike wonder, the glee of it all.
You're even having like Gen Con dreams. It's crazy. I love it.
Oh God, I
At
have
least
so
I
many
think
of
I
those.
have.
Oh my
Yeah.
So
god.
many,
Yeah.
all the time.
Sweet.
Um, that's
Yeah.
okay. Never mind. Remember how I said it was
Gemini.
indescribable? Incorrect. Gemini Lightning has put the lie to my words. um, yeah,
And that
that's
is
yeah.
that truly is the feeling.
Mhm.
I feel like at Gen Con is walking into the dealer's hall and looking around and feeling like, yeah, I'm home. This is it.
Behold,
This is
my people.
my yeah.
Um. Oh gosh, sorry, I'm looking through. Um. Honestly, going next year would actually fit into my schedule at least for right now. Yes, you should. That's you should.
Oh my god.
You should.
I
Last year, Evan was there, but like I rarely saw him because he was like it was kind of Gen Con was his bachelor party.
Mhm.
So he was mostly
And
there
his
with like his brother and like and other friends, and so I didn't get to see him that much, but like the whole time, every time I did see him, I was like, man, you know who's missing right now? Steve is missing right now.
it would have been so good to have you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Evan packed his schedule pretty tightly.
Oh, I
Like
know.
he was like going from magic events to panels to back to magic events to all kinds of stuff. And then
Honestly, I
like
feel like that's a thing that he enjoys. Me, I find that
mhm.
horrifying, but like
Yeah, I like he was having a blast doing it. But like I also kind of need to just like schedule 4 hour swaths of time where I can just meander around the dealer's hall.
yeah. Heart of Handprint says even knowing no one, that feeling was ever pervasive last year. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's that's exactly it. Like Freeman can attest to this as well. But like the very first year that we went, we didn't know anybody there. It was just us. Like one of my friends from college was there that we kind of like ran into him and hung out with him and his brother for a while.
Hmm.
But like otherwise we didn't know anybody there.
And that's when we went to the
Yeah,
Jane's.
the Firefly drinking song sing
Oh
along
my
thing. Yeah,
god,
So good.
that was very fun. That dude is
that's
always there.
amazing.
He's very good. He's very funny. Um, but yeah, like that it was exactly that Heart of Handprints. Like that's how we felt that first year because we didn't know anybody. The second year was a bit different because like not only were more people that I knew, like John and Evan, who I mentioned, were going, but also we dragged Henry along with us that last time. Um,
Hmm.
but also we knew more people. Like we knew Caitlin pretty well by that point, and like yeah, so like but even before that, the previous year, it still felt that same way. Like just looking around and just feeling exactly like there's no other way to describe it. Just feeling like being home. It is it's I will hesitate to say that it's indescribable because clearly that is not the case. But you you can say it and you can feel it, and they are very different things. They are very
Yeah.
different. But yeah.
And
Um
yet
yeah, go ahead.
that is a positive aspect of being solo for a while at Gen Con Gemini Lightning, because like there is something very freeing about being able to just like uh, move through the convention hall without like worrying that you're gonna have to lose somebody or like sticking together and stuff. Sometimes it's nice to just kind of like putter around by yourself. Okay, there, Uncle Ira.
Yeah. So I look forward to uh this is not just for next year but just every future Gen Con. I just look forward to like my Gen Con circle growing bigger and bigger and bigger every year.
Hmm.
That's what I look forward to.
Yeah, I think me too.
I will also say this is I'm gonna I'll leave us off with a prediction as well, because if Gen Con happens next year, I suspect I know like every year is kind of a record turnout for Gen Con, but but here's what I mean. I think it is going to be a record increase, is what I suspect. A record increase
I'm
because
calling 6 digits. Like,
I don't know. I say somewhere I say comfortably like 90,000 is where
mhm.
I is what I would say, because here's the thing. You had this year where Gen Con didn't happen and you have a whole bunch of people who were interested in going but probably weren't going to go, but now quarantine happened and now they're like fuck it, I'm going. So like there's going to be
Hmm.
And like you have these people who are like kind of on the fence too, and then like there's all of this crowd of people who are pining about it not happening
Mhm.
this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in addition to the people who like were gonna go um and like for the first time, and then the people who like were planning on going, then there's also the people who were like not planning on going, but now that they can't, they realize they really really want to and they're going to next time.
Hmm.
Um
It's gonna
And
be
with
a
this cat
lot.
lady, I'm just gonna show up in front of your house and hit the horn a couple of times and just yell from my car,
Get
"Hey,
in,
get
loser,
in!
we're
We're
going
going to
to
Gen Con!"
Perfect.
Oh gosh. Um
I have to
yes,
drive several hours north first to do that, and then back south to
worth it.
Indianapolis.
Worth it.
Worth it though.
It's worth it for the meme. And yeah, Gemini Lightning, I hope so. I hope that is the case.
Mhm.
Um, okay, we're gonna go as we have now we've filled the requisite 10 minutes post the end. We did it. We got there. We've gotten to this has gotten to the point where it feels super weird if we end on time. It feels
will
wrong
yep.
somehow.
Very wrong.
Like
I know, like the conversation petered out at 10:30, and I was like, we could end now, but it doesn't feel right. Like,
This is a thing now.
This is it's a feature, not a bug. Yeah, I agree, Heart of Hanfritz. That's a good point, and I didn't think about that. But you also have the people who couldn't go but are now getting some of the Gen Con experience through the virtual con and will embrace it next year. Yes.
I do hope, as another like kind of final thought, that this year's online like format helps them to figure out ways to make the con accessible for people who can't who like cannot attend. To
Yes.
like
Yes.
having done this kind of stuff this year, setting it up so that people who can't attend for whatever reasons are able to still participate from afar. So
Yeah.
and I hope that about more things than just Gen Con, but like about Gen Con too.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's and I feel like that's probably extremely likely to happen, that like eventually like one of the side effects of everything kind of being virtual will like be a learning experience for people putting on events and stuff like that, to just be like, all right, we got to figure out a better way to do this. Let's go. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to that aspect. All right, we're going to go for real. Probably.
Right.
Presumably.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Ramblemancy ends at 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Allegedly.
Yeah. Do you remember when we thought when we like fools thought that Ramblemancy could suffice in 1 hour? Do you remember that?
I do.
Snurf.
I also remember very shortly after when we realized it would nope.
It just absolutely was not going to happen. Yeah. God. Yeah, that was what fools we were then. And on top of that, we had the audacity to worry that we were gonna not ever that we were gonna run out of shit to talk about. So
Yeah, the folly of you.
Yeah. We were so young then. Anyway,
Youth.
Youths. Okay, I'm gonna stop making references. We're gonna go for real. TM. Tomorrow. Yes, Gemini Lightning tomorrow. Theoretically, there will be more Portal 2 tomorrow.
That's right. You guys are gonna Portal.
We're gonna Portal.
I think we are a little over half of the way through Portal 2, so we'll see how much we have left.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night on the stream.
Yep. So we will do that. And otherwise, so that's gonna be at 6 p.m. Pacific. Right here on this very channel. Then our next thing is going to be Wednesday with Infinite Horizon, assuming tech and internet cooperate with us.
Yeah.
Where we will continue.
Things should work on my end.
That's okay. Yeah. That gives you plenty of time to like jump into the internet and beat it into submission.
Absolutely.
So that I think it'll be good. So. What happened? What are we looking at?
Oh, sorry. No, Amethyst Cat Lady just asked if there's anyone we want to raid tonight, and I looked over and saw that it is Vanna's birthday today.
It is Vanna's birthday today. I had an idea for somebody to raid it, and I don't know if they're still streaming, but I will check.
All right.
Other thoughts that I had. I know I had them about content and stuff. So here's the thing that I can say right now, because now we have actually made progress on doing this, which is that some of you who have been in the Discord for a while may notice that there is a largely unused channel called IH Data Codex, and this is I think it's directly underneath the Infinite Horizon channel. This was intended as a place where we can drop little lore snippets about the world of Infinite Horizon, the things that would probably not get used, or just like context for stuff. And I can say that now that there will be stuff being put in there more often than not. So be looking forward to looking out for some of that content coming to a Discord server near you. Specifically ours, like not just any random Discord, like specifically that one, because it's virtual and it's always near you no matter where you are. But
Yeah. I did most of the writing for one of those entries today, and I am very excited about them. So
we got big plans. We got blah, 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 big
that's how we know
plans
it's
even.
time to end.
we we have plans even. Yeah. Okay, so I was doing something. I was checking to see who we might raid tonight. Okay. So the person that I was thinking of, they're no longer streaming. So do you want to go and like jump over and give Vanna a big old rule of lore happy birthday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think
let's
that
do
sounds nice.
Wish Fan a happy birthday. What's she
All right.
playing?
I do not know actually, but we're gonna go do that. We're gonna
Well,
go and.
it's a just chatting stream, so
Okay. Um. So all right. So get ready. So remember, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Pacific, Portal 2, Infinite Horizon on Wednesday, and don't forget, patrons and Twitch subscribers. Remember that the Bina Ova character journal just went up yesterday. It is amazing.
fantastic.
It's wonderful. Caitlin really did an excellent job with that. So here we go. We're gonna go raid Vanna. So we'll see you. Hopefully one of those times. But if not, we'll see you the next time you decide to come roll with us. Good night and good zone, everybody. Bye.
Zone. Bye.